Yes, people, welcome back to the AJ Review Show, episode 33. We are back with the latest Sam Raimi film, Send Help. It is an hour and 54 minutes long. I'm not really sure what to think, but let's get straight into things. Sam Raimi, known for all the Spider-Man films, the Evil Dead series, and that awful Doctor Strange 2 film. Can he come back strong with Send Help, or just fall on his face? Yes, starring Rachel McAdams, who you will definitely know from The Notebook, probably from About Time. If you haven't seen it, I really recommend it. And also the first Doctor Strange film, which is kind of weird given how bad the second one is. Wait, no. I'm missing the most important film of her career, Wedding Crashers. God, do I love that film. If you haven't seen Under the Radar, the one episode I did of that, check that out. She is super fun in this film. Both the leads are written as full-blown stereotypes, and it does work really well on the screen. Rachel McAdams does a very accurate and funny job of being the girl in the office who has no friends and lives alone with a bird. Very funny, total cliche and cringy, but most of the cringe is in a good way. Then alongside her, you have Dylan O'Brien, that I'm sure if you're from my age bracket, 18, you'll know him from the Maze Runner films, Love and Monsters and Deepwater Horizon with Mark Wahlberg. I just put that in because I really liked it. Also, Dennis Haysbert, who is the crooked FBI cop in Brooklyn Nine-Nine, who says, "Let's break into the FBI. Let's break into the FBI. Let's break into the FBI." So you have that as well. So the story follows Linda, Rachel McAdams, who is looking for her well-earned promotion in her job. When the boss dies and gives the company to Bradley, her son, played by Dylan O'Brien, she gets passed over for the job. But she is given an opportunity to prove herself on a business trip to Japan. However, on the plane on the way over, there is lightning and what have you, and the plane gets hit and they crash and land on an... Well, they don't land on an island, they land in the sea and they wash up on the island. So, I really can't stress enough to you how these two actors, without them, in my opinion, there really isn't much point in watching this film. I think the film has just cleared... I think it was around 80 million at the box office, and it was made off of only $40 million budget, which, you know, doubling its budget is good. Well done, Sam Raimi. I don't care for it at all. I'm sorry, I really don't think there's anything particularly worth watching in this film, except these two actors. In the beginning, Raimi does a very good job of setting up the characters, giving you an interesting premise. He makes very clear, without it seeming forced, who Linda is, and it puts a very clear line in the sand that Linda is right and Bradley is wrong. There's a good dose of humour in it, and at the beginning it sets the film up nicely. However, once the plane crashes onto the island, you are subjected to the same plot for the next sort of hour plus. It is under these just boring constraints that I just began to lose interest in the film, and even their on-screen sort of odd chemistry didn't really keep me interested. It doesn't really go anywhere, and given its nearly 2-hour runtime, I think that's pretty poor. There's no real character arcs. Rachel McAdams' character has a very small character arc, but it's pretty inconsequential and basically just is her going slightly crazier as the film goes on. Don't expect too much. I think Raimi obviously loved the idea of them being stereotypes and really just drilled down into that and didn't really want to give them too much development for whatever reason, or the writers didn't want to give them too much development. What took me probably too long to realise is that basically the entire film is one long Mickey take of other genres, and it took me even longer to realise that it wasn't supposed to be a serious film at any point. It is supposed to be like a dark horror comedy. But unfortunately, because it does quite a good job initially of making fun of the genre and of, you know, action survival films and things like that, towards the end it just falls into the same tropes, and I couldn't really tell if it was trying to still take the mick or if they just sort of got bored with the writing and decided, hey, we're just going to throw a load of sort of boring tropes into this that we've all seen a million times before, which honestly I didn't care for. I just can't help but feel like Raimi probably could have taken the story quite a lot further, probably could have done a lot more with the material, and just sort of chose not to. I know he didn't write it, but I think between them they probably could have done something a lot more entertaining and just sort of didn't, and it kind of fails or whatever it attempts to be, which I'm honestly still not entirely sure. Again, another issue with the film is the pacing. In the beginning, like, for some reason, it's like the beginning and then the rest of the film, it's like they've been made by completely different people. In the beginning, there's a good bit of pacing. They set the characters up nicely. They set the story up nicely. And it doesn't push you at too quick of a pace. You get used to the characters. And like I said, it's very clear whose side you're supposed to be on in the beginning. But as soon as it hits the island, all that pacing basically goes out the window to near non-existence. And honestly, barely anything happens. It speeds up again at the end. It's like the crew finally remembered that, oh, actually, we do need to end this film and speed things up again. And I did actually enjoy the ending. I thought it was quite a nice little turn. And it was set up quite well throughout the whole film and did actually answer a few of the questions I had during the film. So I did actually quite like the ending. However, even that falls into needless and tired dialogue. So again, I honestly can't tell if the ending, like most of the film, was supposed to be a long-running joke or if they honestly just didn't have a clue what to do with it. I do think, however, and kind of sadly, that if Raimi had had full control over the Doctor Strange film and could have made it horror, it probably would have worked really well, because there are a couple of horror elements in here which tonally don't particularly fit, but that they are actually quite good. So I think left to his own device, he probably could make quite a good horror film. This isn't it. If it was supposed to be a horror, it's not. I really don't really understand what this film was trying to be. I have to give a bit more praise to Sam Raimi, because he is very, very good with his visual effects. His use of gore and the sounds used and things like that are actually very, very good and very, very graphic. So in terms of gore and sort of realism of gore, you are actually getting your money's worth, and I did actually enjoy that element of the film. They actually also did go to an island to film it, which was really nice, except I'm pretty sure there are parts that they couldn't have filmed on the island, which to me made it stand out even more. I feel like you should either do all of it on the island or none of it on the island. I just feel like a mixture of the two. I might be wrong, they might have filmed all of it on the island, but there are certain scenes I can think of that I think, probably too dangerous to do on the middle of an island. My next big issue with the film is its lazy writing. Once they reach the island, you see this difficult process of her making a camp, making a fire. Dylan O'Brien can't do anything because his leg is injured, so she's playing carer for him, basically. But then after that, everything just sort of seems to be given to them. Magically, she starts being able to catch everything out of the ocean, and all of a sudden, they're just completely fine with being there. There's like no real issue whatsoever. And it, again, can't tell if it's a trope, but I just think that the writing overall is very lazy. Also, later on in the film, I can't really say too much because I don't want to spoil it, but there is something that brings them into the final act that is just so poorly written in. I honestly can't believe they left it into the film. It is such an oh crap, we've realised that we actually have no plot going on here moment, and we need to throw something in at the last minute to progress the story on a little bit more than we have. So that's all it felt like. Seriously, I think the film is just, it's boring, it's undercooked, and it's underwhelming. I don't really understand why people are enjoying it. If you go in to watch it as a dark horror comedy, I can understand a little bit of your enjoyment, but I really don't think there's any getting away from the fact that fundamentally this film isn't any good. I think to really summarise this, I have to say that I felt like it was a very, very poor crossover between Castaway, Don't Blink, Misery, and Lord of the Flies, of which actually there is direct reference to Lord of the Flies in there, which I did quite appreciate because I've read Lord of the Flies. Shout out Piggy, they did you wrong. Rest in peace. But yeah, it makes me think I would rather go home and watch Misery or Castaway, or even Blink twice again at a push, because it's just like a poor sort of combination of them. Also, really specifically here, the whole plane crash scene, though I did quite enjoy it, the sound mixing seemed really off, which I just think, when it's this big of a budget, I had a problem with Markiplier's Iron Lung sound mixing. That's because it was budgeted at about $3 million. This has a $40 million budget. I don't think there's really any reason you can have poor sound mixing at this level, especially with a director like Sam Raimi. In conclusion, I think it's basically kind of an entirely pointless film. I don't understand why it's got any real love online or any decent ratings. Besides the fun performances from both the leads, which eventually just get boring as well, the story is incredibly repetitive and doesn't go anywhere. I don't honestly think it's worth watching. The effects are good, but most of it is lazy, and the plot just doesn't evolve, and neither do the characters. The jokes are quite good for a while, but it just doesn't make up for the lack of plot, and I'm not sure where the jokes started and the story ended. It's basically like a cheap M. Night Shyamalan movie, and that's really all I have to say about it. I'm going to give Send Help 2 stars. Thank you so much for watching another episode of the AJ Review Show. That concludes episode 33. I didn't particularly enjoy watching this one. I expected more from a Sam Raimi film, and quite a lot of people seem to be enjoying it online. Maybe I went in with the wrong mood, but I just think no amount of humour can make up for the absolute lack of plot, and I almost feel bad that Rachel McAdams and Dylan O'Brien were in it, because although without them the film would be awful, but to have this on their resume I think is a shame, and I expected better, to be completely honest. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Thank you for all the continued support. We're going really strong. Check out Project 280, and I'll see you next week in the next one. Hi guys, I hope you enjoyed watching that episode. If you could just drop me a subscribe down below, leave a like and a comment, that'd be really helpful. You can now find me on Instagram, TikTok and Letterboxd, all at AJ Reviews 101, and click to watch this video up here that YouTube recommended. Enjoy.